Ah, yes, the Browns. By the way, that's Kevin Hogan. That's kind of how I feel today, right now, talking about the Browns. Like Hogan, out flat. I'm going to be doing kind of a two-part video on this because actually you could end up doing probably a 16-part series on what happened to the Browns during the trade deadline. But I'm going to start with number one, which is Jimmy Garoppolo being traded for a second-round pick to San Francisco. My first thought on that was, that's it? That's all it took to get Garoppolo, a second-round pick? Then my next thought was, no. Either that isn't true, there was more involved in the trade, or no, the Browns blew it big time. Of course, it turned out that was the pick. Only one second-round pick from San Francisco for Garoppolo. And what I had feared is the Browns just blew it. They either weren't involved in these talks or something. And here's the odd part of this story. The Browns in New England, Jimmy Garoppolo's team, have done two trades earlier. Number one was for Barkevious Mingo. He went to the Patriots. And number two was a trade with Jamie Collins coming to the Browns, which tells me these teams talk. You could usually see some patterns in all the sports, like certain teams trade with certain other teams. In fact, while a lot of fans make fun of the analytic approach and all that with the Browns, the fact is the Patriots operate a lot on that also, with a lot of analytics piling up picks and so on. So I still fail to understand why the Browns simply didn't beat San Francisco's offer. I had one person told me that New England didn't come back to the Browns to tell them what they were offered for Garoppolo. I find that hard to believe, but maybe that's true. But I know this much. The reason I like the idea of the Browns piling up all those draft picks was for moments like this, when it's time to make a trade. I need a lot of ammunition to make it. Next year's draft, the Browns have not one, not two, they have three second-round picks. They also have 2 first-round picks. Now, you wouldn't even had to trade a first-round pick to get Garoppolo. You would just say, okay, Bill Belichick, I'll give you a second-round pick, and you try with a 4th-round pick. And frankly, if you have to turn around and give them 2 second-round picks for Garoppolo, even the people who don't think the Browns are very good, well run, would have stood up and said, that's a good trade. And they failed to do that. You know what? This would have been nice. I would have said, all right, take our second-round pick. And remember the famed Brock Osweiler pick, the $16 million second-round pick from the Houston Texans. I'll throw that one in too. Give me Garoppolo. Meanwhile, the Browns would have had 8 games to look at Garoppolo, figure out how good he is. Now, he's going to be a free agent after the season, but the Browns would have the option to franchise him, much like Washington did with Kirk Cousins. And the other thing is it would give people hope. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't great, but he started 2 games early this year, completed 70% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 70% completion, 2 wins when Brady was suspended. You've got a bunch of tape on him. You know this guy probably, at minimum, is going to be an adequate or viable NFL quarterback. Around here, that smells like it's Otto Graham after what we've seen. So I was all for this. To me, this is the biggest failure on trading deadline, was the failure to get this deal for Garoppolo done.